There is a second huge story from the leaked audio recording of this dinner that Donald Trump had with Lev Parnas, who he claims not to know, as well as Igor Fruman, both Rudy Giuliani henchmen who have since been indicted. Donald Trump's comments in the recording confirm that Donald Trump is scared of Bernie Sanders. Now, this is very interesting because a couple of weeks ago, I got a live call during our audience call segment from a viewer who said, "Hey, David, have you noticed that Trump doesn't really criticize Bernie much? He goes after Biden, he goes after Warren, but he went after Hillary and still goes after Hillary, but he doesn't really go after Bernie Sanders very much." And it's basically true. Trump calls him Crazy Bernie. He's nicknamed him, but he doesn't really go hard against Bernie. And we suspected it could be that Donald Trump actually is sort of scared of Bernie. He thinks Bernie could actually do well against him. In the recording, Donald Trump actually admits this. In the audio I'm about to play for you, Donald Trump admits that if Hillary had chosen Bernie as her running mate in 2016, instead of milquetoast Tim Kaine, that it would have been tougher for Trump, that Bernie, as Trump sees it, Bernie is similar on trade. He has a similar message. People are getting screwed on trade, that Bernie would have been a tougher opponent. And this is part of a long recording that was leaked. This part hasn't been getting as much attention. It really should. Let's take a listen to it.
As great as he was, half my motivation working was not let her do it.
100%.
Right.
Yeah. That's why I think a big part of our
vice president would have been tougher.
Kane was what I couldn't.
But I think Bernie, because all those people that hated her so much who voted for me, I got 20% of Bernie vote. People don't realize that because of trade, because he's a big trade guy. He basically says we're getting screwed on trade, and he's right. I'm worse than he is. And we can do something about it. I don't know if he could have. But had she picked Bernie Sanders, it would have been tougher. It was the only one I didn't want her to pick. Now then,
it's right there. We've suspected this for a long time, and there is Donald Trump saying it. Now, Trump is wrong on facts all the time. Trump may have been scared of Bernie for no reason. Like, what I mean is, just because Trump believes Bernie would have been the toughest to run against as VP doesn't mean Bernie would have been the toughest to run against as VP. Maybe he would, maybe he wouldn't. That's not actually what we're debating here. But this is terrific fodder for Bernie Sanders to now run on and even include in ads. Trump said he's afraid of Bernie Sanders. And case in point, as an example of just because Trump thinks something doesn't mean it's true, in that audio I played for you, Trump says, I got 20% of Bernie voters. That's not true. It was half that. Trump was off by half. 1 out of 10 Bernie supporters ultimately voted for Trump, not 2 out of 10. And that's roughly in line with the percentage of other party switches in the past. Hillary supporters in 2008 that ultimately voted for John McCain, for example, instead of Barack Obama. Still shocking to me. I don't agree with it. And Trump doesn't even remotely seem like a reasonable substitute to Bernie, unless you're trying to burn it all down because your candidate lost. But 1 out of 10 Bernie supporters did ultimately vote for Trump in 2016. Regardless, this is a gift if you are Bernie Sanders. This is something that should be repeated by campaign surrogates, used in campaign ads, and made a huge deal of by Bernie Sanders. Any reasonable person would also say, well, Trump also seems to be afraid of Biden. He extorted Ukraine to smear Biden, and he didn't do that for other possible opponents. That's certainly true. But this helps Bernie's image significantly. So let's now give it a few days. We'll see if this is used by the Sanders campaign, whether it moves the needle in any way. I actually don't know how many people are following the entire leaked audio story. There was surprisingly less coverage of it than I imagined there would be. There was other news over the weekend, including the tragic death of Kobe Bryant, without passing any value judgments. It took a lot of media coverage hours. And this leaked audio thing, particularly the Bernie Trump part, did not get a lot of attention. But this tape, as I said earlier, must be made part of the impeachment trial evidence. It will put it in front of more people. And Bernie Sanders should also be using this to bolster his own campaign. We'll continue covering this on Instagram. Make sure you are following us on Instagram at David Pakman Show. While you're there, follow me on Instagram at david.pakman as well. I know that the David Pakman Show audience is full of curious and creative people who love learning new things and bettering themselves. And that's why I'm so excited to tell you about one of our sponsors, Skillshare, the vibrant online learning community that offers thousands of classes on almost any topic you can imagine, and you'll get full access to the entire library of classes for 2 entire months free when you go to davidpakman.com/skill. All of the classes are taught by experts in their fields. They've got classes on drawing, painting, photography, video editing, web design, bookkeeping, marketing, personal productivity. Doesn't even scratch the surface. I recently took a class about photography. If anybody follows me on Instagram, you know that my photography skills leave much to be desired. And it was great. I got so much out of it. And hopefully you will see the fruits of me taking that class reflected in my Instagram pictures sooner than later. They have classes for every skill level, whether you're wanting to get better at something you already have experience with, you want to learn something totally new to you. You set your own pace. Classes are usually less than an hour long. They're divided up into bite-sized segments so you can easily fit them into your schedule. Make 2020 a year where you explore new skills, deepen existing passions, get lost in creativity. Skillshare really makes it easier than ever. Skillshare memberships are less than $10 a month, and that gives you access to the thousands of classes they offer. But everybody in the David Pakman Show audience gets a Skillshare membership totally free for 2 whole months. Just go to davidpakman.com/skill. That's davidpakman.com/SKILL.